Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine, and today we're welcome with professional wrestler Keegan. How we doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited. Talked a little bit off camera, and it just got me even more pumped up for this interview. Before we dive in, would you like to shout out your social medias, maybe upcoming events, all that fun stuff, just to let them know where they can get the latest Keegan news?
Absolutely. So on X, you can follow me at Keegan RFM, at Keegan RFM, also on Instagram. And you can also catch me on Facebook by my real name, Keegan Dimitrovic. That's
Okay.
the entire alphabet if you want to spell it out. um, and so this weekend we have Border City Wrestling coming up, owned by the great Scott Demore. And I get to wrestle my mentor, Nate Matson, in a rematch from July.
Okay. Excited?
Very. I mean, Nate's been around the block. He's been around for a long time, and he's been able to wrestle a lot of the all-time greats, which include guys like AJ Styles, and also the Motor City Machine Guns. So to be able to share the ring with someone with that much expertise and that much knowledge can only be a benefit.
Definitely. Definitely. I agree. I couldn't agree more. Um, I'm gonna start this off hot with how I try to start every podcast. To be a wrestling fan, a wrestling podcast, or a wrestler, you got to be a fan. I know I already said that to start the question, but you got to be a fan to do this or to talk about it or to be in it. So when did you find professional wrestling? Like, how did you stumble upon it, and what about it like captivated you or made you fall in love with it?
So I think it's going to sound like a pretty colloquial answer, but I don't really remember a time without professional wrestling because I was born in 2001, but I remember somehow watching Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle from SummerSlam 2002. And I'm not saying I watched that match when I was a year old, but
Okay.
but I remember definitively that being the first match that I had watched, and I had to have been probably under 4 when that happened. So I would say probably, but anytime between 2003 to 2005 was probably the first time that I had discovered wrestling. And um, I think what fixated me on it was uh, just the suspension of disbelief that it brought to me, and the fact that I could see people that were almost real life comic book characters on a television screen inspired me to be something more than what I was even as a kid.
Who were some of your favorites growing up?
Kurt Angle, Edge, Rey Mysterio, The Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero. Um, there's so many. Randy Orton, still one of my favorites to this day. And the list can go on and on. Jeff Hardy would be another one. Um, Man, I know I'm just going on a whole list, but AJ Styles was another one. I was a huge TNA fan in the 2000s when I was a young kid. So I'd have to give shout outs to AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and also Christopher Daniels.
You know, with the TNA thing said, like I think it's cool because I was born in 2000, so I grew up. I'm in the same era, and like I remember being one of the few kids that like my dad would. He had the little box, and he could get the TNA weekly stuff for free.
Yeah.
And I remember watching TNA and like him just putting like perspective in my head. Hey, these aren't the guys that you have the figures of, and these aren't the guys that we watch every Monday with your. This is different. And like I growing up, I didn't ever meet a lot of other kids that watched TNA. So like it was like the I guess like the little secret that you had was like TNA for me as a kid. And was that ever something like that you felt maybe?
Ye- Oh, yeah. I mean, TNA to me felt like the punk rock of wrestling
Yes.
in the 2000s. They were like the Rancid to me of the 2000s, where um, their product was so good, and it was an alternative to the more grandiose product. And I've always been like I never got to watch the product live, but I always loved the way WCW was presented. like
Mhm.
with the Monday Nitro stage and all that. It just, to me, that screamed professional wrestling. And TNA to me had a bit of a similar connotation where it felt like the Raw wrestling company that we weren't used to having at that time. And I remember when I was about, I want to say 6 or 7, TNA came out with the 6-sided ring as a set, and it came with the
Yeah.
AJ Styles figure, and that was given to me as a gift, and that's how I discovered AJ Styles. And since then, I started watching TNA all the time. I had a lot of the DVD sets, and like Kurt Angle's compilation of TNA matches, which had like a lot of the Samoa Joe matches, the Jay Lethal match from No Surrender, which I love. And that's what got me fixated on that product.
So, like growing up, was you ever planning to do anything else, or was wrestling always in your vision of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Um, I always wanted to wrestle. I just didn't know what avenue to take to get there. And I realized, I think, when I was about 14, that every day wrestling was something I thought about. Like even in school, I was always thinking wrestling. Like even for research or like any projects or things in that nature, I always was thinking, oh, like this screams wrestling to me, or this book has connotations of entertainment to me, and I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And I think that's why I just said, well, you know what? If I'm thinking about this all the time and I have this obsession with this form of entertainment, why don't I just give it a shot and see what happens?
So, what made that spark hit, and you start looking for training facilities, and like, how did you go about finding the right school for you? Because there's so many, whether it's in Canada or America or wherever. Like, there's just so many wrestling schools. How did you find yours?
So this was during COVID, and I wanted to start before COVID. And I was actually getting ready to start looking around to sign up. But then once COVID hit, that kind of put a halt to a lot of things. But I had time on my hands, so I started searching, and a lot of the schools in Canada were currently not open. So I felt as if I had to go elsewhere. Um, and I saw that Black and Brave was having openings, and this was during a time where there was a lockdown. So I was thinking kind of in the short term, and not really focusing on the future per se. Even though I was in school, but I said to myself, you know what? If I'm going to start, I have to start now, and that's why I saw Black and Brave had openings, and I was like, you know what? By 2023, I think I can do this because I signed up in 2021, but I signed up ahead of time because I didn't think I'd get in. So I was trying to think 2 years ahead.
What was your experience like at Black and Brave?
Amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. I I wish it lasted a bit longer.
Mhm.
Because I was there for 3 months, and I learned a lot about myself because as a Canadian, when you go to America, there's a bit of a difference, but a lot of Canadians, they don't stay in America for a long duration of time. So I was there for 3 months all by myself, and I had never been alone for that long on my own. So it was a nice little testing ground to see what I could do individually. And I learned a lot about just betting on myself when I was there because I had nobody else to lean on, and I didn't have a crutch. So I had to have all the faith in myself to take that risk and hope for a high reward. And there were times where yes, I did doubt myself, but I thought of I thought of my position as a state of, well, I can't really leave. I can't go anywhere else, so I'm going to finish this up and do what I can to um, you know, be the best of my own ability.
What was that initial interaction like when you met Seth and Merrick?
Intimidating. Very intimidating. Because when you go into wrestling schools, you kind of have to leave your hat of fandom away. So when I went, I realized that within the first day when we were doing, our workout routines and things of that nature. And I realized, okay, if I'm going to be here at a decent level, I have to put myself in that same position that they're in. Not necessarily, not obviously as a trainer or a coach, but be in that same position of, okay, we're in the same building. You know, you can't just go up to Seth and ask him for a picture, like that kind of thing, because that's what the fan of me would have done. So when you're in a training facility like Black and Brave, you have to have enough confidence in yourself to say, you know what, like I can be in this ring and I can perform even if he's watching me or he's critiquing me or he's training me. So that first interaction was very pivotal because we were told, like, this isn't an easy ride for you. This isn't a gateway to the WWE. This isn't, a gateway to special treatment. You guys, because you're here, are going to be put through the ringer. Maybe even that much harder because you're from here with Seth Rollins being your trainer. So I think a lot of people would probably go into it thinking, it's the ultimate blessing to be there and train, which it is, but the expectations are a lot higher.
Definitely. What was, or was there any like advice that either Seth Rollins or Merrick Brave gave you that really stuck out?
Yeah,
And yeah, go ahead.
absolutely. So there was a day on promos, and I stayed quiet. I think this was about week 8 or week 9.
Okay.
And I was talkative, but not as talkative as I usually am, because I knew for promo day I wanted to surprise people. Because I didn't want to cut a promo and have either Seth or Merrick say something along the lines of, "Oh, I knew that was coming." I wanted to try to shock them in a way, because a lot of people, they hold a lot in, and if you look at a lot of the all-time great promos, it's from people who are holding something in, and when they unleash that and they let it out and they channel it, it becomes a great promo. It becomes a hard times promo. It becomes a pipe bomb, as the promos are often called today. Or it becomes a huge like carrying cross style promo. And I knew when I cut that promo that I would be critiqued, but that's a good thing. And I knew that it would showcase the side of me that I always wanted to show. So I cut this promo, because I had been picked on as a kid. Like, I had been bullied, and I was a very overweight kid. I was overweight till very recently, and that was something people always picked on me about and thought I was less than, or I couldn't do certain things because of that. And I cut this promo about that, and I pointed at one of the graduates. Who was in really good shape, by the way. And I said something along the lines of, I know people like you look at me as somebody that can't hang, or as somebody that wouldn't be at your level. And then I forget what else I went into. It was like I think a 2 or 3 minute promo. And then when I got done, um, Seth told me, he said, I knew from day one that believability and intensity for you wouldn't be an issue. So what you have to do is you have to stay as Keegan. You need to be you, be yourself, take that and channel it. And once you channel that, you do even more with it. So that validation to me, for me to just be Keegan, was all that I needed to move forward, because I never really wanted to play a character, if that makes sense. Because I feel like if I can be myself and use my experiences and manipulate it into the setting of professional wrestling, um, it could come across as relatable depending on my delivery. And I think a lot of people, whether they're actors or not, they use a huge part of themselves to make that persona basically a pseudonym of who they are. And what I wanted to do was just be Keegan and show my vulnerabilities and use my own personal experiences to try to create an emotional connection with the audience, which is actually, I got that from Eddie Guerrero.
Okay. So, like, throughout this story, like, you've expressed how, like, it seemed like Rollins maybe wanted that side of you to come out. Throughout the training, was there any, like, difficulties that you were having that maybe halted you from getting there until week 8 or 9 of that process?
I think physically, I
Okay.
think because at this time I was severely overweight. Um, and I knew people looked at me a certain way because I was pushing near 300 pounds. Um, and I think there may have been people who thought because of the current shape I was in at the time that I wouldn't last, or I would quit, or I would stop, because like we would do CrossFit sessions too. And I think a lot of people thought that after a while I would just give up. But I wasn't going to give up, uh, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself with giving up. And it never crossed my mind, because this is what I wanted to do. And I think just my cardio was the biggest thing for me, because I would do drills and things like that, and when I would get tired, I would get intimidated because I would see my other trainees, who were, for lack of a better term, half my size, um, doing these things with ease that I struggled to do. Like doing a leapfrog was a struggle, or running the ropes in under 10 to 20 seconds was a struggle for me at the time. So it was an intimidation thing for sure. And then once I was able to verbally convey how I felt, it almost felt like a massive burden was released off my shoulders.
Okay. You know, when I was doing research, I looked a lot through like your social medias and things like that just to get to know you. And one of the things you have pinned on Instagram is a promo you cut about men's mental health awareness. As somebody who struggled with things like depression and anxiety and ADHD, I could go on a list. But nonetheless, what's it like for you to be so open and speak up about something like that maybe hits close to home?
I think it's because for such a long time, I felt like I couldn't speak up. And then there were a couple epiphanies where I thought, no, I can speak up on this, and I can illustrate how I feel to people. So there was one moment during COVID in 2020 where I thought I was gonna give up. Like I thought I was gonna end up taking my own life, and I put out a post on X, and I tagged Michael Landsberg, who owns Sick Not Weak, which is a non-for-profit mental health organization based in Toronto, and he tweeted me back, and he's like, "I'm on your team now," and he's a huge mental health advocate. And I saw Mauro Ranallo's bipolar rock and roller documentary, which I watched. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. But
You're good.
I watched that more times than I can admit. Um, and to see someone like Mauro Ranallo live with bipolar disorder, and still do what he wants to do as a career and be as successful as he is and as talented as he is, gave me the inspiration to strive for what I want to do, which is be a professional wrestler. And I would say that was the big moment after the Sick Not Weak discovery, along with watching the Mauro Ranallo documentary, that I thought, okay, there's more men that struggle with this than meets the eye, because toxic masculinity is still a thing. A
It's
lot of
terrible.
a lot of men aren't going to tell you how they feel, because they look at they look at their mental health as a sign of weakness or a sign of defeat. For me, like I know AJ Lee says that crazy is her superpower, and I think for men, if they're honest and they come out with their mental health, they're going to inspire a whole lot of other men and a whole generation of men to come out and say, you know what, like we struggle too. We just don't we don't convey our struggles the same way. And that's not just like based from you know, a man's point of view, but it's from everybody's point of view as human beings. We all convey our mental health differently, but a lot of men they substitute their physicality for being strong when everything with the human body is all up here. It all derives from up here. So if you're not able to operate up here, the rest of this most of the time isn't going to follow. Um, so so I think with mental health, it's more important than anybody could possibly imagine because I've learned that it's okay to not be okay, and that's a sick down week quote.
You know, it's crazy thing that said that because that I was literally thinking that exact same thing, not by the same person, but I'm a big fan of Jelly Roll, and Jelly Roll is a
Yeah,
huge mental health advocate. And just like that, just that sentence, it's okay not to be okay, is because it's the truth. Like I think sometimes, especially as a man, we get so fixated on we have to be a certain image all the time,
yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
like I can't drop this curtain down and let people see a different side of me because then they'll think of me in a lesser standpoint, which
Yeah,
isn't, it's just not right, nor is it fair. Like we're all humans, we all feel, and for so long it's kind of felt like men aren't supposed to feel. We're just supposed to provide and that's it. When I mean, we're not machines. We have feelings, and it's nice that in this current day and age, it's the ability as a man to be able to speak up and just say, "Hey, like I have problems." It speaks volumes as to how we are evolving, I guess, in a positive way as a society, if that makes sense.
yeah, of course. And one of the things that I think I can't speak for every man, but I think one of the things that I observe that a lot of men fear is with their mental health is being a liability.
Yeah,
And I know for me, I still fear that, you know, because pro wrestling in university or anything like that can be very mentally and emotionally taxing on a lot of people. And one of my things is that I don't want to make anybody's life more difficult by putting my problems or how I feel on them. So one of the things that I think a lot of men do is they don't wear their heart on their sleeve. Some do and don't show it, but others it's a very tangible sight. So for me, you can usually kind of tell when something's bothering me or if I'm not feeling good or whatever. Um, but one of the things that I keep telling myself is that everybody's fighting their own battle in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of times, if I'm talking to another man about my mental health, they're not going to judge me for it because a lot of times we're going through our own stuff, and a lot of times we can relate to each other with that. Um, and in wrestling, that happens a lot, where it's a brotherhood, and a lot of times when we share our vulnerabilities, it becomes a bonding experience. But also, too, the one thing I'm aware of is that not everybody is as open with it as I am, and I never used to be open with it. It was fairly recent that I became open with it because my mental health is something that I think positively has defined what I've done. Because I think without the struggles that I've gone through, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have trained. I wouldn't have stepped in a ring. I wouldn't have had a match, and I still wouldn't be a student in university. Because the I made the disadvantage an advantage. At least I've tried to, because it gives me more fortitude to work harder. And if I achieve any good goals at the end of the day, I can say that I worked hard to do so, even in the days where I was really, really struggling.
definitely. Keegan, I just want first off say thank you for sharing. That's a
Absolutely.
can be a tough subject. It's nice to let the guard down sometimes. I feel.
I try to be relatable, man. I'm working on it.
Just because there's no easy segue, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna glide right in.
sure.
After Black and Brave, like for most independent wrestlers, at least that I've noticed on the independent scene, is like when you do a training school, usually it just leads right into you getting on shows and getting booked in their company or in the surrounding companies or territories, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
What was it like for you to leave Black and Brave, go back to Canada, and then try to find your own footing in the independent scene?
It was a massive adjustment,
Okay.
because I trained in America, and now I'm going back to Canada, and I haven't trained in Canada yet. So it's a bit of a difference, but in a good way because it gives me an opportunity to go and train elsewhere and try to get better and try to hone my skills. Um, and at the beginning, I got some bookings and serviceable, I guess, but I knew deep down I needed to do more. I needed to train more. So it wasn't necessarily just about getting bookings, which granted I wanted. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to go from Black and Brave and start wrestling, which I did. But the one thing I didn't realize is that it's only 3 months. I only trained for 3 months, and I'm already doing matches. So I knew I needed to train more, even if I was in denial with it, because you just got done Black and Brave, you just graduated, and you're like, oh wow, like I get to go wrestle, I get to go do all these matches, but in the back of your mind, you kind of forget, like, yeah, man, you only trained for 3 months. You need to do some more training. But I learned that very quickly that um, if I wanted to keep wrestling and keep wrestling at a decent level, I needed to train more.
So, as far as like getting that training in Canada, was the first training school you went to, or was it the Can-Am Dojo?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it was. I'm
How'd
still
you get
there.
in there?
So they were doing a talent evaluation, and this was about, I want to say, a month after I came back from Black and Brave, and a man by the name of Johnny Bravo, who
I love Johnny Bravo.
is a top guy in TNA right now, and has been really instrumental in helping me. He invited me to go take part in this Can-Am Dojo and be a part of the Can-Am team. And I'm from Windsor. The Can-Am Dojo's in Windsor, so I don't really have a reason to not go. So I did, and I realized that day, even if I was in denial with it at the time, how much work I needed. I realized I was not ready, because I had seen so many people come in, and the way that they were rolling, the way that they had precision in everything that they did, I had none of that. So um, I started training there after that day, and I was able to keep training there, and I still train there weekly.
Okay.
And I was able to really hone some skills. There's still work to do, and if anybody ever says in wrestling that there's not work to do, that's not true. You can always work on something. And I started trying to work my way back up, both in the fitness realm and in the in-ring realm too. And that was because that day Johnny Bravo invited me to the Can-Am Dojo.
So you mentioned Bravo. Who are some of the other people there that have directly impacted not only your training, but maybe even have helped guide you throughout that process?
So many names, and I'm gonna list all of them because they all deserve it.
Exactly.
So Josh Alexander, of course, a massive inspiration, because he was so patient with me and really trying to help me get to where I needed to be. And I still needed a lot of help physically, and Josh was right there to help me and give me advice and to keep cheering me on to keep doing stuff. Like, for example, up and overs for me when I started were a struggle, and Josh was more than patient to show me the technique of doing it up and over, even if I messed it up 500 times. So he was one. Scott Demore was another. Um, I was very grateful that Scott allowed me to be in the dojo, and to give me an opportunity to come in and train every week. And his critique always helps me because there's so many little things that you can work on in wrestling, whether it's technique, footwork, things like that. And Scott's one of those individuals that will help you with that. And he helped me out a lot in that sense where, like, if I need to pop my hips more on something, I he would tell me, and it's all those little things that really help you. Another name is Dan Pisano, aka El Reverso. He's been around for over 20 years now, and he's now a trainer at the Can-Am Dojo, and he's somebody who I think I've spent the most time in the ring with. And he can wrestle a lucha style, and he's also very technical. So being able to wrestle someone at that physical level has really helped me gain confidence because I'm trying to see not only if I can keep up with him because I can't because he's on another level, but I'm able to learn from him and I can try stuff with him and then we can sit and talk about it after and he can give me all of the advice in the world and try to help me and then I try to put it into practice. He's another one too that really helped me a lot with diet and fitness advice. And there were times too that he was, courteous enough to bring me to his gym and let me work out with him to get a feel of how I should be working out to be in the ring. He's had so much patience with me too, and I can't say enough good things about him either. I love training with him every week that I see him. So he's another one. Nate Matson, even though we're wrestling on Sunday. He's been a huge mentor to me. Somebody who has done a lot in wrestling and still comes in every week to come help me and get in the ring with me and make me a better performer. Uh, I think without him and Dan, aka Reverso, um, I I'm not saying I would have quit, but I think those two they made me feel like family. And I used to really not despise the term, but I used to be uncomfortable with that term family because I was lenient. I was not lenient with my trust, but being around those two all the time, they've made me feel like family and not made me feel uncomfortable in my own skin. So those two have spent a lot of time with helping me. Giselle Shaw is another because she's another one too that has given me a lot of inspiration. Just to be able to wrestle with her and be in the ring with her has been nothing short of an honor because her technique in the ring is so advanced, and being able to try to keep up with her has been fun. But also, she's another one too that you could approach and ask for advice and learn from, and she will always be there to lend a helping hand. So, nothing but love for Giselle, and just another individual who will make you feel so welcome anytime you're there. And that makes me feel good because with my mental health, a lot of times I feel like I'm unwelcome in a lot of places, but that's just me being in my own head. And Giselle is someone who has helped alleviate, that anxiety. And also, another one is Rohan Raja, who used to wrestle in NXT UK.
Okay.
Um, he's been a big inspiration too because he saw me physically at my worst. And then when I went to go talk to him one day at one of the shows, he barely recognized me. Like it took him a minute to kind of recognize me because I hadn't seen him in a while. And to see how hard he's worked to get to where he's been has been inspiring because he physically looks great, he performs great, and he also acts like a champion. Right now, he has the Champion's Grail for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, and the way that he carries himself is something that I've looked at and said, okay, you know what? Like, if you want to wrestle, you need to carry yourself at a certain level. And he's somebody who I look up to for that. He's also another one like Reverso, who has given me so much advice both in the ring and with diet that it's almost priceless. Because there were days in the dojo where I'd be in my own head about things and Rohan Raj would pull me aside and go, "Hey, for you, man, it's all here, but don't let that get in your head. Don't let your insecurities get in your head because you're here and you're here for a reason, and keep on moving forward." So that whole Can-Am team, like I said, Josh, Scott, Bravo, Giselle, Dan, Nate, Rohan Raja, they all were super instrumental in helping me in one way or another.
I love it. You hear a lot of times it takes a village, so it's cool to see
True.
everybody working together
Absolutely
to
true.
create great talent.
Yeah.
How was you feeling going into your debut, and what do you remember about the day leading up to that match?
So I didn't even know I was wrestling that day.
Okay.
Uh, I had been approached about attending a show in London, Ontario, and the individual said, "Just come up, and you'll probably wrestle, but don't insinuate that you're wrestling, but just come up." And London's not that far of a drive from where I am, so I was like, "All right, I'll go see what happens." And I walked to the show, and the promoter, he's like, "You got your gear?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Because one thing you're always told is bring your gear. And if a promoter says you got your gear, you're probably gonna wrestle. So I was like, "Yeah, I have my gear." Um, and the promotion was Demand Lucha, and it was August 27th, 2023, and I wrestled a great individual by the name of Clash Kincaid, who I'm still friends with to this day. And what's funny is the year before, I refereed his match. So 1 year later, we're wrestling in a singles match. Um, and I remember that day, and this is when I was still looking out of shape. Um, I decided to wrestle shirtless. Don't know why. Maybe a body confidence thing. I don't know. Um, but I went and had the match. We got done. Um, I was very nervous because this is my first ever match. And I went out there. We got done the match, and when I got to the back, somebody told me to go get a singlet. So I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And I've been wearing a singlet ever since. However, I kind of look at my wrestling story so far as almost two parts because the match that I had with Nate in July almost served as a re-debut because I had matches before, but then I went to Can-Am and I kept training to get better, and didn't wrestle for a bit because I was focused on getting better in the ring and just making sure I was just better as a performer. And um, I got to wrestle Nate in my first match back in July, and that match was surreal because I never had the chance to wrestle Nate, but I had the chance to train with Nate, and to wrestle someone at that stature was it wasn't just a pleasure, it was a challenge for me. It was like, okay, can I go out there and not just necessarily hang because it's not even about that right now. It's about being able to take advice, being able to listen, and being able to show that you're you're easy to work with, which is what I always try to be. And we went out there and we had the match, which we barely went over. Because like the best thing about wrestling is sometimes when you overthink it, that's when you stress yourself out. But if you can just go out there knowing maybe even a couple things and just wrestling and listening to the crowd and feeding off the crowd, that can make your job a lot more fun. And that's what we did. And I'm in no position to object or to say, oh, like, well, maybe we should do this. And I never thought that anyway because I have so much trust in the people that have helped train me that I'm just going to go out there and listen. And I did that day, and the result for the match turned out decent. And I was really happy with it because when I got done the match, I remember thinking, I just did that. And obviously I'm very hard on myself. So there was like things I would have changed on my behalf. But I was really happy that I was able to get that opportunity to wrestle somebody that I've looked up to and to be able to hear what they said and listen and be able to try to make it work to the best of my ability. Sorry, that was a
So
long-winded answer, but
you're good. I love it.
yeah.
Um, I'm starting a new segment on the channel,
Okay.
inspired by my little brother. Some may on the podcast thing know that call him Nasty Nate here on the channel, but Nasty Nate's segment is called Starting Five. So if you were a coach and you had to select five people, male, female, to be on your team, whether it's a basketball team or a war games team, whatever it may be, who would those five people be that you trust to carry your team to a victory?
Are we going all-time or current?
Up to you.
Okay.
Whoever you want on your team,
All right.
whatever five.
All right. All right. Let's have some fun. I'll give you two. I'll give you a current, and
Okay.
right now it would be my Can-Am family. It would be so I'm assuming five. Yeah, five. So it would be myself, Josh Alexander, Giselle Shaw, Nate Matson, El Reverso. That would be my five. However, if we're going all time and we're counting WWE, AEW, WCW, oh man, it would be so myself as a part of the team, right? So it'd be myself, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero, because somebody's got to cheat to steal me a fall, and Bret Hart. I think that'd be my team.
Okay, I love it. Um, we might come back to that later, so keep those names in mind.
Okay,
What was your experience like doing extra work with TNA?
amazing, amazing. I had so much fun doing extra work because I like the I like having the ability to see more and do more. And it gives you an opportunity to experience wrestling at its apex, because there's so much that goes into wrestling. It's not just the show. And I was always interested in the production aspect. How is the ring put together? How can you learn to put the ring together? How are the barricades, aligned? Things like that. How does the truck, work in the back, and how does it showcase itself out to the crowd? So I was always interested in that stuff, and for to do it for TNA was fun because I was able to see it in living color and be a part of it. So this was at a time too where um, I was in a really dark place, just mentally, yeah, even physically, and um, I didn't know what was next for me in a lot of ways, and I was really down in the dumps, just personally and professionally. Um, but Bravo had invited me to TNA to do some extra work, um, and I actually got to be a part of it a little more than I thought I was going to be, because during the day we were all in the back, and an amazing woman by the name of Ingrid, who works at TNA. She comes up to me and she goes, "Are you busy?" And I'm like, "No, not right now." And she's like, because my hair was a little shorter at the time, like it was still long, but it was like about up to here. She's like, "Can you tie your hair in a tight pony?" And I was like, "I think so. I can try." And she's like, "Okay, come with me." And I was walked up to Khan from the Ascension, and I was told that I was going to be sitting ringside, and he was going to come up to me and he was going to pick me up, and he was going to beel me, throw me, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually happening," So I got to be a part of it, but the really cool part was is I was sitting by the bell by the ring bell in that table, and I got to watch Nick Nemeth wrestle Steve Macklin, just sitting right there, and to watch those two do what they do best was amazing. I had the best seat in the house. So that was an honor because I was just able to sit and watch that. And then I think it was two matches later, Khan's match came up, and I knew what was going to happen, and I had the mic in my hand, and he took it, and I looked away for a sec, and he just snatched me and he threw me, and then I thought it was only going to be one throw, and he grabbed me again, and he's like, "Let's do another one." I'm like, okay, oh, okay.
Okay.
And I took another one onto the other side. And I remember when like I got carried out, I went to the back and I felt so elated. And that was, I think, the first time, even though like I had, been around wrestling before, that was the first time where I really felt that addiction that wrestlers feel when they're out in front of a live crowd of that magnitude, and to hear the crowd roar when I got thrown, even though it didn't feel great, you know. But to hear that roar was something, and I was like, now I know why. Now I understand why all of these wrestlers put in all that hard work and all that dedication. It's for moments like these, and
Absolutely.
especially in a match, when you're having a great match out there and the crowd's just reacting, all that hard work, all that dieting, all that training, all those habits that you have that are positive, they all pay off. And that's what I learned that day. And for that, I will always thank Bravo for giving me that opportunity, because without that opportunity and without his encouragement, I don't know, what position I'd be in. Like, because he 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 was one where he helped me with my confidence too. Everybody at the dojos helped me with my confidence. And for Bravo to take time out of his day, out of his busy schedule, to sit and talk to me and help me out, I'll never forget that. Even if I'm done wrestling at some point, I'll never forget the stuff like that he's also done for me.
Amazing. There's once again jumping back to your social media. There's a clip of you asking Kurt Angle a question on the Kurt Angle show, and he says something along the lines of, you guys have kept in touch with each other. How did you meet Kurt, and like how has he been able to help you maybe throughout this journey?
Another one in so many ways. And my discussions with Kurt are something actually that I haven't really discussed that much.
Okay.
So this is kind of almost newer to me. Like, I've discussed them here and there, but the thing with Kurt is I met him when I was 8 years old, going on 9. He was at a TNA event in my city. And I had always watched Kurt when I was younger, and even younger than 8 or 9. And I always loved him, my favorite wrestler. And there was an opportunity after the show to get in the ring and take a picture with him. Him and the Motor City Machine Guns. They were also there. Amazing team, one of my favorites. And I got an opportunity to take a picture with Kurt. And when I got in the ring, like, he kind of like, put his arm around me like this. And I turned around and like I offered my hand to him and he shook my hand. It was like I met a comic hero. It was like I met Superman, and it was somebody that I had seen on TV. And for me, when I was younger, I didn't have social media. So the TV was the biggest media I had. And I almost thought that stuff on TV wasn't real. It was just like this fictional world. So to see somebody that I saw on TV every week in real life was a huge, like, I don't even know what word to, surreal experience. And I never forgot that day, because I remember that was the day where I was like, you know what, like, I'll always be a part of wrestling in some way, shape, or form, whether it's as a fan or whatnot. And I actually think, like, you asked me earlier what age I thought about it, and I said 14. I think that's when I started really thinking about getting in the ring, but I think the wheels turned that day when I met Kurt in 2010. I
Okay.
think that's why. And the relationship I have with him, it's like a child looking up to his hero, because he is my hero. His life story has been very inspiring to me. Like, I never had the opportunity to wrestle amateurly, but for him to be in the positions that he was in and to overcome all his stuff, he's a mental health warrior to me. To be able to endure the tragedy that he's endured and to come out on a great side of things has been nothing short of inspiring for me. And he was one. and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. He would be one texting me, like on Twitter or whatever, or X now. Sorry. He would be tweeting at me or sending me a DM, and he would say, "Keep going, kid. You're gonna make it." And keep going with wrestling. And to hear that from him, who, in my opinion, could be the greatest professional wrestler of all time, is it's almost like you're in a crowd and you're looking around and you go, like, he's talking to me. So because I'm just like, to me, I'm even still to some degree am some nobody kid from Windsor, that just loves wrestling, and to be able to interact with your hero at that level, it's almost as if a dream became a reality. And a lot of times people say, don't ever meet your heroes. But I met mine a few times and have had the chance to interact with them. And he has been such a pivotal part in me continuing this journey in wrestling and in life too.
Okay. Earlier, you spoke about MLP um, being, maybe the biggest promotion currently within Canada. Um, is that one of your goals to make it on there as a main player? Like, is that something that you see in the future, especially working under somebody like Scott Demore? Like, I'm sure that's got to be somewhere in the vision.
It's absolutely my main goal, uh,
Okay.
because there are so many great wrestlers in Canada, both past and present. And now Canadian wrestlers have the opportunity at an international level to showcase what they bring to the table. And Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling it's an outlet for Canadian wrestlers to show international people and also people within the nation that we are the premier source for wrestling. And it's often, a lot of Americans will say too, Canadians breed really great wrestlers. And I'm happy now that we have the platform to show that, on Triller TV. And for Maple Leaf, we we have such a great outlet with it because other wrestlers come in as well from New Japan, from AEW, from TNA. So we're able to learn from them. And I've had the honor of helping out at Maple Leaf shows, and to see how much production goes behind the show, really signifies that the company is a major force, and we are a major force. And I think there's so many great things that are going to come out of Maple Leaf. And for me to even be considered to ever wrestle there would be an honor. I don't know what the future holds, but to be able to put my name in that hat would be an absolute pleasure. However, there are still so many other Canadian wrestlers that have been wrestling way longer than me, that deserve that opportunity too. And I want to see those wrestlers get that opportunity to showcase their talents at the biggest level in the country. And I think a lot of them will.
Absolutely. Um, I am going. I told you to keep that starting five in mind, just in case we came back to it. What if you needed a six man to come off the bench and help? Let's say somebody gets injured, somebody gets hurt, sprains an ankle, needs some water. Who's the sixth man in your all time and in your Can-Am Dojo? You can do both.
Ooh, that sixth man. He's from Detroit, but I'm gonna say Sam Jami for the
Okay.
current. He's again from Detroit, but he trains at the Can-Am Dojo. Also wishing that he has a speedy recovery because he broke his fibula and tore something in his ankle, and I'm wishing him the best recovery. But if he were healthy and ready, that's who I would pick. And then for all time, it would be. I said Bret Hart already too. So and Taker and Kurt. I'm trying to remember my own five. So if I had to pick another one, I'd probably go with Randy Orton.
Okay. I don't think anybody's beating that team.
You never know.
It's tough, man. But you might to start the starting five
Yeah.
plus a sixth man with that caliber. I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to top it. You set a high bar. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just hope they all get along.
That that's always the question. But in fantasy land, it doesn't matter.
That's true. Well, Randy Orton's really good in those elimination matches,
Exactly.
so
You you you
never
you
bet against Randy Orton.
you picked a team to be reckoned with. That's for sure. Um, Last question, then I'll let you go. First, before I ask this last question, I just want to say thank you. Been a
Yeah, of
phenomenal,
course.
phenomenal show. But last but not least, we talked about the goal of getting on Major Leaf. What are some of the other goals that you like? I guess more short term that you'd like to achieve before the calendar end of 2025 hits.
That's a great question. Obviously, keep wrestling. Obviously, have some more matches. Keep training every week. Um, Maintain a level head with balancing university and wrestling. um, I think being able to wrestle people that I can really learn from. So, I would be comfortable wrestling anybody, especially somebody who, I can have a match with and then receive feedback from. So, like for example, wrestling an El Reverso, wrestling Nate Matson, I anybody that I know is going to up my game, I'm more than game to do more with. And but also I want to wrestle everybody at every level, because that's how you upgrade. And to wrestle somebody and adapt to their style, or if they have to adapt to mine, is a good learning experience for myself and my opponent. So I think one of my end goals for the year is to try to become more versatile as a performer, and to also keep spreading the word on mental health as a performer in the ring. So if I can keep doing that, hopefully the matches will come, and hopefully the audience and my peers can see the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing with mental health and wrestling. And it's been great because my peers have been very complimentary towards it. So hopefully that continues towards the end of the year.
I love it. Keegan, like I said before, thank you. I'm gonna leave the door open. You ever want to come on for a part two? I'd love to have you. We could talk all
Count me
day
in.
if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, count
So
me in.
thank you so much.
Of course.
I know we did at the beginning, but in case they wasn't paying attention, would you like to shout out your social medias,
Sure.
just to let them know where they can catch you?
Yeah. So on Twitter is or X is at Keegan RFM, and then Instagram is at the Keegan RFM. Facebook, you can add me at Keegan Dimitrovic, or AKA the entire alphabet. And you can also catch some of my matches on YouTube. So if you just type in my name, some of them might be there. The first match with Nate Matson's there, and that's a match I'm pretty proud of. So hopefully I can continue on that road. And if you are following me, I'd like to thank you for your support. And to my fellow reformers, it's just the beginning.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna leave this at see you next time then.
Yeah, see you soon.